Okay, so welcome back, everybody. I hear that there was maybe some questions about who we are and what we do, so we are going to clear the air on that. So my name is Ginny. I work for Adoption Connection. We are a foster care and adoption agency, and we are located in Beaver and Allegheny County. We do serve about, I think, 12 different counties all around Pennsylvania. And I am the foster family recruiter and trainer.
That's awesome. I'm not nearly as impressive.
Oh, whatever.
My name is Jenna. I am the founder and also the CEO of 412 Foster Project. Before this, I did all sorts of child welfare, acute mental health, nonprofit work. But currently I am here all the time. And we are a nonprofit agency. We don't actually place children. We don't do any of the training for any of that, but we support the agencies that do like Adoption Connection. I love having working connections with people like Ginny, and we also support foster families, birth parents, people who are just struggling in the community who need help. We do it currently through the community closet here in Bellevue, and eventually we hope to expand it into other projects and other services. We've been here in Bellevue for about 5 months now, and we've only been operating for about 6 months, so we're still pretty new. But yeah, and that's what I do. We have some qualifications. We're not
just randomly talking about things and don't really know what we're talking about. Don't worry, we've done this for a while. I've been doing child welfare for about 6 years now. So
yeah, I've been working in and around the field. I've jumped around a lot. I have not always done child welfare. I have done acute mental health. I've worked inside the jail here in Allegheny County. I've worked.
So that's a great question, because somebody says, like, why did you get into social work and who are social workers? Like, what are social workers? Because apparently there is some questions regarding what social workers do and who they are. So why don't you tell us some about like your past history? So that'll give you an idea, because Jenna's a social worker, I'm a social worker, but we've had very different backgrounds of what we've done. So
I have been a little bit of everywhere. Like in social workers, to put it as simply as we possibly can, are people who work with other people. I mean, we work with everyone from every walk of life. There are social workers from birth to death, I mean, and everything in between. So very simply put, without going into super long explanation of what we do or what the job is, we work with people, we help people get back on their feet, we help link people with resources. And yeah, that's a lot of what social workers do. There's a lot more. We do counseling too, like they can be counselors. There are social workers in the FBI. They're all over the place. So yeah, that's a little bit of what social workers do. Me personally, I have worked at a regular hospital. I've worked in Western Psychiatric Hospital. I have worked at the jail. I've worked in nonprofits and and then child welfare. I think those are the big ones that I've done. And I did that personally just because I have a lot of interest in a lot of different things. Like I love psych and mental health, so that's kind of, I've just bounced around.
And that would be why she got into social work. Maybe.
No,
I'll say
I did not. It was by accident. I did not intend to get into. I wish I had a really cool story. I got into social work by complete accident. I wanted to be a doctor or a nurse, actually. And I always wanted to help people. I loved kids. You know, I did all those things. I really didn't know what a social worker did either. I had no clue. And my first day of college, I went to community college, and I had to take a prereq course to get into the nursing program, or if I transferred out, like, and did a pre-med program. And it was taught by a social worker. And I walked in first class. I just fell in love with it, and I went that day to my advisor's office and switched my major. And I've gone like back and forth a lot. Like since then, I still really love the medical field, but I loved social work more. Something always like pulled me back into social work.
See, I have always worked with people too. I worked in a pharmacy for 8 years. And then while I went to school, I was still working in the pharmacy. And I was like, I don't know that I could do the medical field full time. But my bachelor's degree is actually in criminal justice. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice because I wanted to do like juvenile probation. And then I got to the end and I interned in juvenile probation. I was like, I don't really know that this is for me. Let me go to like the other side of this. So I ended up in social work and I was like, I really love this. Like I worked in a residential treatment facility. I worked at a drug and alcohol facility. And then I went to the county for probably like 6 months. And then I was like, I really want to try the foster care side of this. So I went into the foster care side of it. And that's where I ended up. But like, I always knew I wanted to work with like children. Like doing something, whether it be like juvenile probation or, you know, like when I worked in the residential treatment facility, I loved working in the residential treatment facility. It was a lot,
Yeah, it is.
but I enjoyed doing it. So, yeah, that's how I got into social work.
I think if anyone is watching this thinking, maybe I'd be interested in social work. If you're a helper, I think you could find a place in social work. I feel like that's one thing people in the field have in common is they're just helpers. They have the heart for it, and it's not easy. You can kind of see it behind me, I keep cards and like drawings that kids have given me to kind of help keep me motivated on those really hard days in the field when I'm like, why did I get myself into this?
I also have a bunch of like cards and pictures that kids have drawn me throughout the, you know, and I actually still keep in contact with a couple like older youth who I worked with like at prior jobs as well.
So that's nothing super interesting. It wasn't like I was destined to be a social worker. I think I was. I think I'm very good at my job, and I think you know, I'm very, very suited for it, but that was not, I didn't always like, I didn't have posters of social workers hanging on my wall. Like,
well, I mean, to be fair, I didn't either.
So yeah, that's why we got into social work. So we got a question, what is the craziest thing that we've seen in the field? And I can't answer that question without violating HIPAA confidentiality.
So while we would love to tell you,
yeah,
and just give you some insights, you're just going to have to be a social worker yourself to come get your own stories,
or catch me on the street and maybe we'll chat. But yeah, I can't really answer that.
Yeah, I can't either
on camera. No,
unfortunately, sorry.
I'm not that sorry because I think I might turn people away from the field. What is your least favorite part of the job? That was another question I got emailed to me. For me, it's a lot of things are actually my least favorite parts of the job. I don't like feeling like I can't reach everybody.
Yeah.
That's a really hard one for me to swallow. You have to, when you work in this field, you have to be okay with that fact that you cannot save everybody. You can't reach every child.
That is hard.
And that's a hard one, like, for me to swallow. I also don't like when I feel like I'm being counterproductive because my hands are tied, like, by external things like courts or the county or whatever. That's always been hard when I feel like the work that I'm doing is being counterproductive to what they need, because I can't do anything about it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's always been
I would agree with that 100%. Like, not being able to change things and having to wait for somebody else to make that decision or that judgment call is really, like, that is one of the harder things. For me also, my least favorite is seeing a child potentially be stuck in the foster care system for an exaggerated amount of time because of continuations and things like that, when it should have technically been a long finalization, should have been a long time ago. So that is very hard for me too, because you want to see permanency for a child, whether that be reunification or adoption. And when that's not happening, that's really sad to have that child left in limbo, and that makes me very sad too.
Yeah, I think too, seeing kids continuously keep coming back into the system, and it was the same thing when I worked at the jail and I saw the same people coming back, and it wasn't for these crazy reasons. A lot of it was they had mental health, issues that weren't being treated, and so like, just I think also these ugly like cycles that we see working in the field, and we try really hard to break these cycles, and I know a lot of the people that we work with also try really hard to break their own cycles of bad habits, but it's not that simple. And so that's, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with kind of what you said, just seeing kids especially. Because when you work in other fields, and I can say this, like for me personally, I can't speak for anybody else, but, when I was working in a jail, it was really hard. It was really hard to see all the suffering. But at the same time, it was a little bit easier to like compartmentalize that in my head than it is when you see kids going through it. So I've worked in other fields and seen really hard and ugly things, but when you see kids going through it, it's hard to justify that amount of suffering in children in your brain, to like keep doing the same thing every day and keep going back and trying to make a difference. It's super hard.
And I think that's why there's a lot of burnout, because of, obviously, if you're a social worker, you have some form of helper in you, and you constantly are wanting to try to make things, better, or trying to help, and sometimes you can't do that. So you do get that burnout feeling of like, oh, I'm not even making a difference right now. Another thing that bothers me a lot is seeing like older youth just like be constantly looking for placement. Like there's kids who, that are just looking for placement for like years and years and years. And it's just very sad. It's very sad, and they come in with the trauma, and that trauma sometimes leads to behaviors. They didn't come into this like because of their behaviors. They came in because of trauma, and then they're not looked at because of the different things that they have going on. So those situations make me very sad too. So I would say that's one of my least favorite parts of the job as well. Yeah.
But we're going to end on a happy note. What is your favorite part about this job? Because there's a lot of really great things too that we get to do, which is...
So I love working with families. Like I love meeting people and talking to people. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like a people person. I love interacting with people. I love seeing happy endings. Again, whether that be reunification with birth family, because I think that is fantastic. I love seeing, adoption is a really awesome day too. And I love seeing people grow. Like there are some hard times that you're going to have. And I always tell our families, like, you live and you learn, and the first, 30 days or whatever can be the hardest on a placement. And like watching them grow from experiences is really, really awesome for me to see. So, I just really love working with families and watching the kiddos kind of go through the system, watching them grow up too. And then getting pictures from like the families after they've been adopted, like still seeing, the family, like we'll send pictures of the kids. And so it's nice that, to create that connection. So
I would agree with that. I think for me personally, I think it's such an honor to be able to be with people and work through things with people during some of the hardest parts of their lives that they'll ever experience. They might be in the lowest of lows that they might ever experience. And for me, I consider that a real honor to be able to like walk with people and walk them through it and support them, and to just see their resilience. And so I think that's my favorite part, is I get to play such this small role in a person's recovery, whether it's from addiction or mental illness or whatever, whatever it's from. I don't think that anyone is too far gone, and I don't think that anybody is, I can't think of how to, beyond redemption. I guess I don't meet anybody with the thought in my head that they can't.
They're too far gone.
Yeah, that they can't be redeemed and we can't work through and break cycles. And so to get to see people's like resilience and work with them, I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Among many other things, but
yeah, there's lists, I can guarantee you. And if you ask, like, as obviously it's different for everybody, both of those questions, you're going to have different answers from every single social worker you talk to. So, and it's depending on what field you work in and things like that. But yeah, that's who we are. That's what we do. Those are some of the questions we receive.
Have a great day, guys.